Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about making sandbox levels or workshop levels. And I'm going to show people how to edit their levels in the text editor. This is a very non-friendly thing, but there are some things you can do in Sandbox that or in the text editor that the graphical interface here doesn't allow you to do. So this video will be going to be a bunch of looking at a text editor, so if you don't like that, then I'll make another video. So there are several things that you can do that are not that you can't not do in the text editor. One of them is, for instance, you've seen several levels recently where the rocks are lifted up off the ground. By default, you can only move them left and right, and they're stuck to the ground, and you can only move them so far to the left. Like I can't move this guy any further to the left. So for instance, if I wanted this side of the rock, if I wanted the tip to be lined up with this wall here, I could not do that. Typically, I'd probably just flip it and have it like this, but this side of the rock's different. But another thing that you cannot do currently is if you have a road piece here, you cannot move this guy to be he cannot close this gap completely if you want to create more. There's a lot of things that are snapped to grids, like anchor points. They're snapped to the grid. You can't really see the grid in this level, but it kind of snaps. It doesn't move as smoothly as the mouse does. The land masses here also, they move in a 1 meter increments, which a 1 meter is the length of half a road. If you want your distance to be not quite lined up with that, then you have to go into the editor. Another thing is if you create a ramp here and have it a custom width, then this width may not be 1 meter. So although this space here to here might be an even amount of roads, this space may not be an even amount of roads. If you have that, then you've got the option. You could go into the text editor, move this in order to make it fit right, or you could, or the easier thing is probably actually to size this so it is a 1 meter interval. Some other things you can do, like here you can flip this horizontally. In the text editor you can actually flip it vertically. Same with your rocks. I don't know if I've ever tried to flip a balloon, but you can resize a balloon. I've not done that in an actual. I've not made a level with that. You can flip your ramps upside down. Whole lot of things that essentially you cannot do in the text editor. One thing is this island piece, or this piece here. You could actually move it all the way to the left and have it overlapping another landmass. So I'll start to go over those kinds of things. So first off, I'm going to go with probably the thing that I think would be most useful. Oh, another thing you can do is you could take boats and you can lift them off the water, which you can do that currently, but it's a bug and I wouldn't expect it to stay there. Unless they have like an advanced mode for editing that removes all these restrictions and grid lines, then the boats can go side to side, but they cannot go up and down. But if you look around a lot in the workshop, you'll see some that can go up and down. And the easiest way to do that is you put a landmass attached to the boat. Notice how the boat moves with the landmass, and if you move it up, then your boat can now go out of the water. So you can do that in here, but then you have to delete your landmass. But then you cannot move it, and it gets very finicky. So if you have a bunch of boats or something, then you might just actually go do that in text editor. If you're already open in the text editor, then once you get things going, you kind of just keep going with it, I guess. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this landmass, and I'm going to close this gap to make it a one gap space. So, or remove this gap entirely. So first thing you need to do is you need to save your levels. I've moved all my extra saves out. So this is a text editor example. Alright, and now I've set my camera up so you should be able to see my notepad. And let's see, I'm going to resize this just a tad. Yeah, doesn't really matter. Alright, this path right here that I already got pasted here is where your files go by default. Whenever you have, if you have or where your levels are saved at. So you've got their C drive, users, you've got your username, usually your first name, app data local lol, dry cactus, polybridge, and sandbox layouts. There will be a directory there, and then I've got a file called text editor example. I'm going to drag that into my notepad, and this is what the level looks like. It's really hard to read right now, and there's a lot of stuff on here. So fortunately, like most XML things, the amount of spacing, like tabbing, entering, space like this, tabs, and new lines, do not affect how the game reads your level. So you can go through here and you can move things around to make it more readable. So the other thing you have, let's see, so I'm just going to do a little bit of that. This whole thing here, this bracket here, starts essentially, it's saying your level. It's saying this is your level. It's some random bridge. I don't think you can name that. And then there's a lot of stuff that you can change. So let's see, I'm just going to find the key points. I've looked around here a decent amount, so I've got a decent idea of where things are. Vehicle events. Let's do ship events, piston events, and I should probably add a bunch of other items to the level before I did this. Typically, you want to make your level to as much as you can before you actually open the text editor if you're going to go into doing that. So right now, I got my resources. This is my budget. You got the number of different things you have. Some things are variable names that are actually different than what, like this is probably your cable. I'm not sure. There's no reason to edit this. -1 is typically used in the programming world as unlimited. So we've got a terrain section here, and you start a square bracket here, and then the square bracket on here is the end of this terrain section here. So if I tried to format it, then I would probably do something kind of like this. So there are 3 land masses. If I click back here, you can see I've got 1, 2, and 3. 3 land masses. And then, so I've got 3 spots here. They're a terrain type, I think is the, I think that's basically, this is your start piece, this is your end piece, and then I think there's only one option. You can play around with other numbers, but if you mess up, it just won't load, which I will demonstrate. This right here is your coordinates. X is how far horizontal it is, and oh, actually, this is your end piece. You can tell, I can tell because the X. This is 19 meters from the origin, and this piece here is only 2. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mess up my syntax. So I'm going to delete that square bracket, which is going to make this as an invalid file. So this is very finicky. If you ever tried to edit things like this, you'll know that it's very finicky. So I'll go over here. I'm going to load my text editor example. Oh, and I can't see anything. And this is what happens when Polybridge cannot load or interpret your file that you're trying to load. If this happens, you have to exit out. I'm going to go back to Polybridge. I will look over this a whole bunch, or go back to the archive or backup copy I have, and I'll find that bracket. I'll save this, and then I'll go back over here in a sandbox, and I can now load it up, and it's back the way it was. So what I want to do first is I want to move that piece. Essentially, I'm going to change this right here to be 0, and I'm going to hit save. And then when I load over here, now this square piece here is away from the wall. Now, so this is, if I move this at all in the game, I won't be able to put it back. So this also tells you at the same time, I'm pretty sure this point right here, this upper right point, I'll move this so you can see. This upper right point here is your origin, your 0, 0, or at least that's my assumption. So, and then this right over here is your is essentially the point. The way things are, like if in graphics or whatnot, there would be like a point that dictates where this is located, and then we've got the size of the object is kind of separate from that. So let's go back here. I didn't do anything, so I'm going to load this again because it's back. I haven't done anything. Now, one thing you will notice is, so I'm going to decide I'm going to do several different things. I'm going to have another landmass here. I'm going to lift it really high. I want to put this landmass over here somewhere. I'm going to create a balloon, which I'm going to shrink. I'm going to create a rock that I'm going to create 2 rocks actually. I'm going to flip them, and I'm going to raise them up in the air. And I think that will be it. I'm going to create an anchor or 2, just so you can see how they are in the game. And I'm going to create a vehicle. Let's create a hydraulic phase, and let's create a boat. So I'm just going to have a whole bunch of stuff in this level, the ship. There we go, and can't move this further to the right. I think that's more of a bug. So I'll leave that here for now. Alright, so now what I have to do is I have to save this in the game now, because I've added all this stuff. And unfortunately, and this will probably never change, because editing stuff in the text editor is not really the intended way to make levels. If I go over here, if I refresh, that's not a refresh button. I feel like it would tell me that the file's been updated. Let me save again. Save, yes, replace. Back over here. Oh, okay, here we go. It says my file has been modified by another program. Do I want to reload it? I'm going to say yes. This program I use is Notepad++. You can use text or just Notepad that comes with Windows if you want. This basically is the same thing. It just has a little extra stuff. If you do it Notepad++, you would probably have to reload the file specifically. And then what I see now is everything's put back into the hard to read mode. So I'm going to start adding some new lines in here so I can find stuff. Here's my anchors. Here's my terrains. I've got several different pieces of terrain here. My vehicle events, ship events, there's piston events, scenery. Scenery would be your like the objects like the rocks and the platforms. So I've got, here's a scenery type here, there's another one. There's some target flags. Alright, so there's a lot of stuff here. So I'm gonna move, kind of do this thing here again with my terrain. You can see this is the one that I have that I moved already, because the X is 0, and this is the new one that I put in. So you can see that this one has the only one that is actually high up in the air, it's like higher up. If you can see, I left this high up, so apparently I moved it up 8 meters. Okay. So then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this to, say, a negative, I don't remember what number I need to use to make it line up. Equals will not work, it will make the thing crash. Negative 14. Alright, and I'm just going to save this and load it up, and what you'll see in the game. Oops, I'm trying to save. That would not be what I want. Alright, and now we can see this piece here is moved all the way to the edge, and I think that might be lined up. I can't see the other end. I wouldn't know if it was or not. So if you ever have a reason to do this, that's one way to do it. If you lift this as high as you want, you're never going to be able to go under it, because it just completes all the way down. You'll also notice that anything that would be attached to it will not move with it. So I would have to move this anchor point over here separately if I want. Alright, so then back over here, I've got my vehicle events. This is the car that I put in. Let's see here, vehicle type, this is which car it is. Most things, when you're doing things in programs, then 0 is typically the number you start counting with. So this is the first car. There's going to be a car for 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., and that's going to change it to like your Vespa, your dump truck, all the different vehicles you have. You got the position of your car. The group here, I believe, is associated with which phase it goes in. Like here, he tells you that group 1. So your first phase is the car. And then this piston event is saying there's a piston event at group 2, which is the next phase or event. So you can see over here, I've got 1, 2, and then I got a boat, which is my third. And then, so if I find my boats, I need to tab some of these over. Where did my boats go? Oh, ship events. There we go. And this is group 2, which is the third phase. Alright. This is what I changed in that last episode when I was trying to change the speed. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to make this 10, and that's going to make this car go 1000%. In the game, it has to be between 100. Oh wait, I think you can go. I don't know if you can go to if it's slower than 50 or not. Up to 500. So 500 would be 5. This is a multiplier, so your default was 100%, then 5 is 5 times that, which is 500%. This, I guess you change this to true. I've not done it because you can do it in the game. That would be if you want your car to drive the other direction. Alright, so what was the next thing I was going to do? I already forgot. Oh, I think I was going to resize the balloon. Alright, so I've got several scenery things here. I don't remember all my IDs. I have 2 things that are scenery type 0, and 1 thing that is 5. So since I made 2 rocks and only 1 balloon, then I know the 5 is my balloon. This is the position of my balloon, and I've also got a size of my balloon. So say I think my balloon is just way too big, and I want it to be smaller. So I'm going to change this to be 0.25. I'm going to change them both. You can do 1 if you want, and then it will look really weird because it won't be square anymore, I guess. Or it will be kind of like an oval-shaped balloon, and it'll look really wonky. So let's go back to the game here and see how big the balloon is now, and I'm going to load this up. And now my balloon is really itty-bitty. Now there's one thing that is different that you will make this look really weird is I turn it over here, and of course you have this oval thing, and that is because the game has no reason. They didn't really think you'd ever resize a balloon, so the depth of the balloon which would be like a Z size, there's no way of changing that. I mean, I could try to put something. I guess well, let's do that. I'm pretty sure that this will not work, but I'm gonna try it anyway. No, yeah, well, I was thinking for a moment I have to save it in game. All right, so I'm gonna do over here. This is most likely not gonna work. This has to be, this bracket here is telling you the size. I'm gonna put Z 0.25. I'm pretty sure this will just crash, or it's just not going to recognize it at all. Just load. Alright, so I guess it just didn't recognize it at all, because it didn't move. So it didn't really actually do anything for me. So I'm just going to remove that. Okay, so I've resized my balloon. If you want a weird shaped balloon, you can do that. Now I'm going to move my rocks. I guess my rocks start at 1. I don't really know what point is like 1. So my origin, that makes it seem like it may not be there, or that, you know, it might be. You just have to play around with it. I mean, it might be this lower corner here, and then like it might draw this land piece to where like so there's nothing between this space and, I don't know. You have to kind of take a graphics computer class too. So let's see here. So I'm going to take the Y position, which is a height, and I'm going to move both of my rocks up 10 meters. Okay, I'm going to save this, go back to here, load, text here. Whoa! Apparently that is my height. Oh, that's one thing else you can do, because you normally cannot make rocks this big. I think I made it 10 times the maximum height rather than trying to move it. So this is the size thing, and this is the position. I was trying to change the position, which here it makes sense now. Let's change these back to 1. So these are actually negative 0.49 because they're actually all the way down at the bottom, I guess. So this is my height, and I'm going to change this. 10 was a little high. Well, actually, that was the scale. So I'm going to go up 10 meters. I'm going to have it a 0. I think you might as well leave the decimal in here. It's probably not necessary. And then I'm going to load this up. There we go. Now these guys are floating. Next thing I'm going, oh, don't need to do that. And then go back to my text editor. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these rocks and I'm going to flip it upside down. And basically the way things can be flipped is you take your size right here, and if you make this a negative value, then it's essentially going to mirror it. So if you think of the width as being like a negative size, then basically it just draws it backwards, I guess, or flipped. I'll just leave it at that. So this would, changing X would flip it horizontally, changing Y would flip it vertically. You can do that. You can't flip everything. I don't think you can flip the terrain pieces. I can try that after this for fun. So a lot of this is kind of just playing around, seeing what you can do, which I've done a decent amount of. So as you see, now I've got a rock. And then this is where I found out that the rocks look kind of funny when they're upside down. This is because there is no... Whoa. Oh, I clicked it and now it's way down here. So there's nothing on the rock, or on the bottom of the rock. There's like no... there's nothing drawn on the bottom of the rock. There's no... You can't see like the bottom. They just left it blank. And my guess is that the bottom of the land masses are probably blank as well. And basically what that is the game has said that no matter where I move my camera, I can never see underneath this rock. Even if I move way down here, you can't get like a perspective to see under that rock. So if you can never see it, then there's no point to draw that that plane. And what that does is it's going to make your game run a little quicker, or less processing graphically, because there's that one less side to render. you don't need to render something when you're just gonna block it with something else. So what I've done, what I did with my cave map is, because I didn't like that, I took another rock and I put it on top of it. So this one here is upside down, and then I'm going to change these to be at the same X position, and then one's going to be, and then they're both at the same position here, and so that means one is going to be exactly on top of the other. All right. So I need to save. I'm just doing Control S, and then load this here. All right. So now you got kind of this crazy floating rock thing. This is what I did on my cave map, and I just overlapped a bunch of them. Then you can, if I decided I also went over here and I took the size, and I'm going to take, say, the bottom one, which is the one that's upside down. I'm going to make that one a lot shorter, so I'm going to say make this a 0.25. Save that. Load. Oh, that was the width. So if you ever decide to do this, you're going to spend a lot more time in the editor than probably you spent on any other level that you were making. So, alright, so the size, okay, this needs to be a negative number, it needs to be negative 0.25. So, alright, oh, did I save it? I did. Okay, let's load this up. Alright, now you can see that the bottom piece is really small. I think then the last thing I'm going to do is, I forgot what I was going to try to do already. Just raise my boat up into the air, change the position to 5. I don't remember now. I think they've cleaned this up a little bit. I don't know. So they also have a save file section here. So if you save your map, if you save like a bridge in here, then you'll have a huge string of just random characters that will be in here. I have no idea how you would interpret that. So he probably got something that it's kind of like a hex string, I guess. Let's see, I was talking about the size, the position of the stuff here. There's the ship events. There's my ship. There's no position. Now what you could do is you can like just randomly guess on things, which I don't think I've ever been successful in this. I say, hey, let's see if the size syntax here works on this ship, and let's see if I can make a ginormous ship. And most likely what's happening is it's going to crash the game. It doesn't actually crash it, it just doesn't load. So load, and then over here. So this ship looks basically the same size as normal. It's floating now because I changed that, but it didn't change in size, so it basically doesn't recognize this here. So you can't just do anything. You have to do what the developers have already decided that you could do. Some things like inverting rocks and moving up in the air, they didn't really intend for you to do that, but it's kind of it's in the same system, so I guess you can make it work. I thought, what was I going to do? There was something I was going to try, and I'm going to remember it when I looked at everything, and I was pretty sure it wasn't going to work anyway. ID, so I don't know, I think your target flags here, I guess the ID is probably each vehicle. Yeah, vehicle is there an ID on here? No, my guess is the first entry here is the 0, and that goes to this particular flag. Speed multiplier, flipped target group. I can change my vehicle type. That'll be fun. Alright, I'll just do that, and then I'll probably go ahead and then I'll be done with that. So, so now I'm going to load this, and my car is going to change probably to station wagon. Now I've got a station wagon here instead. So, that pretty much wraps up how you would edit maps in the text editor. If you're going to do this, I don't suggest doing a bunch of... You always have things where people come and they're like, oh, I made a really weird or really small balloon, so here, play my map because it's called my small balloon bridge map, you know, and it doesn't really actually add anything to your level. You're just kind of showing off this little gimmick. Kind of the same thing, the floating rocks. The Roofed Up series, I kind of feel like, was showing off a gimmick. You do have a purpose. I mean, you can have a function. My cave map was kind of doing that, but I spent a lot of time trying to make it actually look decent and not look like a... Here you could say it's kind of a UFO or something. I saw a floating ship level recently where it says, hey, there's a ship up in the air, what the heck? And you can always make those. You might get a little bit of attention, but I don't think it really makes your map really better. I had a map where I used two ships. I had one underneath the other, and I've got them set to the same phase, kind of like this. And then I basically did that because I wanted to make a super tall ship. You know, I said, I don't like this ship that is really short, and I'd like to make it bigger. So I just had another ship floating on top of it. And that was a way of accomplishing that particular thing that I wanted to do. I've also put pieces on, I've got a level that is, well, let me just go back and I'll show you some of them. Let's see. So the cave expansion is the one that I've moved all these rocks up in the air. Like here's a rock, this is a rock. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8, 9, 10 rocks at least just floating up in the air. Then I moved these land masses here to the side. Those are things I did. The other things I did was I've got the speed draw or quick draw. I might have done this with the landmass trick, but you can do it the same way. Here's one where I've got boats sitting on top of each other. You know, and these are set at the same phase as the dump trucks. So you had to like really raise it up pretty high, or you couldn't just raise it up a little bit. And that was kind of the idea behind this map. And then the other one I have, which is trapdoors. Here I did it just for a visual effect. I guess I got two of them over here. I got two pieces here. I wanted these to be up against a wall because I didn't like how they were just kind of sitting out there. So I put a big piece of land over here just for aesthetic purposes. And I had to go into the text editor to do that. I don't know if I have anywhere. Go out of there. I don't know if I have any that are different, but so that's my idea or my thoughts. So if you edit maps in the text editor, then be mindful about what you're doing. Don't just do it because it's gimmicky. Play around with it, but you know, have a purpose for what you're doing. So, well, I hope you enjoyed everything I had to say in this video. It's probably a little more boring than my typical ones, but I will give a normal video next time, so hope you stay tuned for that. Alright, goodbye.